if we were back 10 years ago, how we would frame the system so we could avoid this kind of getting greedy, this kind of bounded rationality, and also I think we eventually should have more transparency, but how to actually make it work?
Well, again, let's start at the bottom. I think you have to enable the people taking out these mortgages to make better decisions. Here's a simple idea that we advocate in the book that I think has some possibility of being adopted in the future. In the U.S., when you take out a mortgage, there are disclosure rules. You have to disclose all the details. Now, that disclosure is a 30-page document that is completely unintelligible. For me, it could have been written in Portuguese. I would have been able to understand it just as well. What we suggest is that in addition to that, the mortgage writer has to send you an electronic file that has all of those details in the file. Now, it's not like we think you'll look at that file yourself, but with one click, you could upload it to a website that would translate it and explain it to you. Say, now this mortgage you think you're taking out, do you realize that the payments are going to double in 2 years even if interest rates don't change? And they could triple if interest rates do go up. And do you realize that you could get a mortgage from this other company that wouldn't have those risks? We think this idea of electronic, machine-readable disclosure could be used in lots of domains. The next crisis we're going to see is in the credit card, bad credit card risk. Again, people don't understand all the terms that they're getting themselves into, and electronic disclosure would be part of a system that would help. Now, at the top, it gets trickier. What are we going to do? The people that got us into this trouble were primarily in unregulated parts of the economy. Although AIG is an insurance company that's regulated, it's only in the insurance business that they're regulated. And that is regulated state by state, and that part of their business is fine. It's their underwriting of mortgage-backed securities that got them into trouble, and credit default swaps and the like. Now, you mentioned disclosure. It's clear we need better disclosure and better transparency. We need to fine-tune this because we need to require better disclosure, but at the same time, not force them to disclose so much that they can no longer make any money. So if you take a hedge fund, for example, you can't ask the hedge fund to tell you every trade they're making, because then you can just copy all their trades and they can't make any money anymore. So the question is, how much disclosure can we force them to give while still allowing them to make money? So one simple thing I think we can force them to do is we can force them to reveal how much leverage they're using. And it turns out this would have helped even inside the firm, because as I suggested, I don't think the CEOs understood the amount of leverage that the people in their own firm were using that got them into this trouble.
And that's very true, because we had the same problem here in Brazil. Major corporations that were playing the derivative markets with the currency, and the CEO, even the board, didn't know what the CFO was doing in terms of the risk that he was taking.
Right.
And we have now huge conglomerates that had a loss of 2.2 billion reais, which would be around $2 billion, in playing with the currency. And the board and the CEO didn't know.
Right.
And firing the CFO is no solution because the damage is done.
And the next guy can do the same thing. So I think we need to work on better disclosure and better corporate governance. Mm-hmm. And I think that can be done. Of course, the companies may resist this, but I think what they have to understand is that unless we collaborate on more transparency and more disclosure, the alternative will be very heavy-handed regulation. And so I think it's in their interest to meet the government part way in defining something that can work and still let them make money.